Welcome to the DSG Podcast, exploring the intersection of on-chain and traditional finance. As a digital securities platform committed to open finance, we bring you insightful conversations with industry leaders and innovators, exploring the evolution of capital markets. Whether you're a finance professional trying to raise capital or curious about on-chain finance, tune in for grounded perspectives on where finance is headed. The content shared in this podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, or investment advice. DSG does not endorse any specific investment strategies or provide advice specific to any individual's circumstances. Listeners should consult their own investment advisors before making any decisions based on the information provided. Now let's get started. Right. Jonny, welcome to the DSG Podcast. Fantastic to have you as a guest. Really keen to learn about all the exciting stuff you're doing in the world of metaverse, AI, intersecting with media and movies. Some really exciting stuff. Keen to jump into it. Let's kick off with a little bit of your origin story. So tell us a little bit about yourself and the origin story of Dream Channel AI.
Sure. Yeah. So, thanks for having me here. Very, very, very awesome innovation, DSG. So I'm very happy to be part of that. I think it's almost part of the story, my story really, because I went to film school and did a master's in virtual worlds and a master's in film and television back in 2010. And prior to that, I was interested in film, but I hadn't studied it. I was always carrying cameras around, and I was interested in the future of immersive film and choose your own adventure stories and things like that. And I could see that prior to that, I was a .com entrepreneur. So, and I experimented with internet TV. I had a big startup back in 2001 called Kgrind, Kgrind, which was an internet TV startup, way ahead of its time. So, 2010, 10 years later, I started looking at where is the web and TV and film going, and I decided to add some education on top of that. So I went and did a master's in film and TV, and especially in virtual worlds and how those things were going to come together, right? So which I could see was really going to happen just from my experience in the web up to that point. So that was where the sort of the concept of Dream Channel came from. My master's topic was called Dream Channel. It was all about there will be a channel in the future that merges story, film, and the web. And when it merges together, this is before virtual reality, before that kind of stuff. When it merges together, it will be an immersive TV channel that you go into and you experience the story by being fully immersed in it, by becoming a character in it, by influencing the narrative, by voting on outcomes. And that's how the future of TV would look, right? And I wrote this master's on how that could happen. And people thought I was pretty crazy because there was no VR and there was games, but I think people saw it more as a game film hybrid, how those things would evolve. So yeah, I wrote this whole kind of vision for it, and that's how the whole thing began. And then what I was challenged with was part of my master's was directing. You had to become an accomplished film director as part of it, a learned one. So my master's challenge was to direct a film that would actually work with this narrative, right? So I wrote a story which would suit this narrative called The Dream Channel, and it was obviously early days, and I wrote this story all about this futuristic world where people could immerse themselves inside it, and how that would and how a story could evolve like that. So the story that the Dream Channel is now has evolved somewhat since then. It was not the same story, but I made a film back in 2010 called Lucidia, which was all about a lucid dreaming world where you went inside the dream world, which became the immersive world, and it was all about your adventures inside there. Bit of Snow Crash and famous kind of books that have been written all about metaverse was in that story. So that was the beginning. But then if you go forward a few more years, 2013, I discovered blockchain and Bitcoin, and when I discovered that, I was like, this is the payment system that that I put in my master's. I said, there's got to be a payment system that will make this, drive this. It has to be unique. It has to be decentralized. It has to be something that everybody could access, and it can't just be this old school kind of model of like TV channels doing their own thing. You've got to be able to access this metaverse and be able to do anything and pay for anything any way you can. So I discovered Bitcoin, discovered blockchain, was completely all over that from the outset, and I came up with this integrated Dream Channel model, which was a payment system integrated into this metaverse channel, Dream Channel, and it was all powered by blockchain and crypto very early on. So that was the beginning of it all. 2015, 16, VR came along. I added VR into the equation. I made a film in 2016 called Dream Channel, which was a fully immersive VR feature film that premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. It was the first year the Cannes Film Festival had a VR cinema. My film was the premiere film. It opened the cinema, or was the second one, but it was one of the first ones. But it was the only first ever narrative-driven live action with real actors shot on green screen VR feature with real acting and real everything, right? So no animated world, real actors. That was 2015, 16, and then I designed a payment system in 2018. The payment system I'm talking about, called iGaze, which was the system that would actually be put into the Dream Channel. And then track forward to 2025, here I am, launching the Dream Channel feature film and channel, which involves all those pieces. There you go.
Awesome. Yeah, fantastic. Oh, what a cool story. I actually didn't know about the Masters piece, so that's really, really cool. Tell us a little bit more about the iGaze.
Okay, sure. So iGaze is a payment system in its own right, so it can actually go anywhere and be integrated into any world via a simple API. But iGaze is a system which basically allows it puts the narrative story and how it evolves in the hands of the user. Meaning, I can be immersed. I go into a VR or immersive world. It could also be an AR with my phone, right? And everything I look at is I trigger things with my eyes. So whatever I look at triggers the next scene, the next doorway opening, whatever it is. And whoever owns that doorway, correct, there's a payment. So in other words, you're triggering content with your eyes, and whatever you trigger, whoever owns that content receives a payment, right, directly from my engagement, right? So that's how the system works. Now, where that comes from, and this will make more sense when I explain this, is that virtual worlds, every game world you've ever seen or played with, every virtual reality experience you've ever had, Unity and Unreal Engine, these two engines that power the future of immersion, they are all built with this thing called gaze control. Gaze control is the trigger, the tool that the user has to allow them to control their ecosystem. So it works like this. If I'm in a prehistoric world, I always use this example, and I'm looking at a prehistoric flower in front of me, behind me, there's a T-Rex coming, it's puffing and puffing and making lots of noise. It doesn't come until I turn. I turn, it triggers the T-Rex, it comes at me. You make things happen when you look. It's called gaze control. When I'm ready to look over that way at the noise, I look, it happens, right? It doesn't just come at me, because otherwise everything's coming at you and you don't have any control. So basically agency and inside immersive worlds comes from a thing called gaze control. So what I did was I created this thing called iGaze, a payment system, or gaze coin, that basically taps into that iGaze trigger. So whatever you're doing in the world, you look at something, it triggers something, the payment comes from that moment, right? Because all those moments are registered in a database, right? So every database trigger creates a transaction. The transaction is split between the owners of whatever it might be. So if I'm in dinosaur world, the owner of the world gets a clip, the owner of the dinosaur gets a clip, and the user, me, I get rewarded too. So it depends on the model, right? So that's it's a split transaction. Yeah. So that's the payment system that is powering the Dream Channel online world that I'm launching through DSG.
Amazing. That's so cool. And it's a micro payment. I'm assuming. This is probably going into a little bit of the weeds for the nerds like me. But what kind of blockchain have you built on? Like, what are the particulars of that?
Yeah. So Solana is we experimented with all different. We started on Ethereum because that's where we built our initial model. And that was very limiting in terms of that this is a microtransaction model. Every individual, just that dinosaur world example, if I walk around that dinosaur world for like 15 minutes, there's 400 transactions that happen from every dinosaur, every flower, everything, everywhere I go. It's all being measured by what I do, right? Now that has to be microtransaction model, otherwise it's not going to work. And if there's 500 people in there at once, we're all looking at each other, and there's transactions triggering all over the joint. So Solana's only just really come along in terms of like offering a new alternative to Ethereum. Ethereum scaling solutions were a bit too much complexity. Really, to be honest, you just want it to be really simple, and the more complexity, the more developers required, and blah blah blah. So we're Dream Channel is built on that. It's built on Solana right now, which allows microtransactions to happen through this eye gaze mechanic. Now, eye gaze is not just in VR; it's also just clicking on things and moving avatars around, whatever you want. It's the whole thing. But we are going to do an Ethereum version as well. For the geeks who are on Ethereum, they don't like not using that, so we will do that as well. So yeah, we're going to be multi-chain.
Cool. No, I can see the appeal of Solana. Fast, cheap. The odd time randomly it might drop out a little bit. I mean, it's not like you're putting through an international transaction. The risk is a little bit lower. But I mean, what you're really talking about, I guess, is tokenizing attention. And I can see lots of opportunities within those worlds for advertising and kind of personalized content and learn to earn type opportunities and stuff like that. So yeah, really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, it's great. The payment system, just the one last point there. In my masters, I made it very clear: no payments, no metaverse, right? Yeah. And that's the bit that everyone keeps missing. They're like, "Oh, we just use PayPal." So it's not customized. It's not going to work, right? So, customized payment system for this new realm of entertainment channels. Without that, it doesn't make any sense for anyone. There's no ROI. No one's going to get engaged. And that's been the problem up to date.
Yeah. I'm just going to pause and clip that for a second because I'm going to quickly change my password.
Whoa, off you go.
Stabilize this. Hang on a second.
That's all right. No worries.
That's good stuff. I'm actually learning a lot.
Well, I've been doing it. It's been a long journey. Oh
yeah.
No, I haven't told you anything. This is the first time I've told you all this. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so why don't we pivot a little bit and talk about how AI comes into the picture? Okay,
sure. So AI is the missing link in this whole equation, and it's been missing for a while. Metaverse. So Dream Channel's we'll get to the depths of exactly what a feature film in this world is, but it's a feature film and a series, and I'll explain the narrative story in just a minute. But the biggest problem, the two biggest problems with Metaverse were no payments, right? Which we talked about that. Okay, so there's no economy, right? And the second biggest problem is that there's three problems actually. The second biggest problem is the cost of building anything, right? Doing anything. Oh, I want to do it. It doesn't matter whether you've got payments or not. You've still got to create the world or the story or whatever. It's just too expensive. You've got to get a Unity programmer, 4 of them. You can't find any. You've got to find, a number of blockchain developers. It's just the average person can't do it. It's just not possible. So it doesn't really solve a problem just having payments. What AI does is bring into the equation the ability to replicate things infinitely, and the user can drive it. Right, the user's got to drive everything. The user's got to drive the engagement and the payment, but the user also has to drive the content. Now, so what we've done in particular, there's a couple of different ways that AI solves the metaverse equation, but the bit that we're focusing and honing in on is the avatar part. If I am an avatar in any world, I care about it because it's me, right? Especially if it's me, it looks like me, or it's a bit like me, or an alter ego based on me, learns from me. I'm already nurturing this thing, right? So I care about it. And so we're focusing very much on users, audience members, visiting Dream Channel as audience members, but then becoming part of the story using AI by generating an AI generative avatar, right? That's based on themselves, right? So this is how it starts. So the story now is this, again, getting back to my masters, the linear story of the feature film and the series has these, premium characters, the actors, that act out all these scenes, but all of the story threads are generated by audience members who are no longer just audience members. They are actually in the story as avatars. Now, how are they in the story as avatars? This is where AI makes that work, right? So what I do is we brought it right down to you use your mobile phone, You scan your face with a mobile app, which we've already developed. This generates this facial feature, which is based on you. You can morph it, change it, but it's kind of based on you. Now you can use a different face, but it's good to, an alter ego is kind of a good thing, a fun thing to have. And then basically you then generate a character based on a particular personality that you want to be and a particular look that fits the story. The story of Dream Channel is all about these warring tribes that are all fighting each other to own the place, right? So there's there's the skateboard tribe and the surfing tribe and there's the base jump tribe and there's acrobats and MMA and all these things, right? So you pick the tribe you like. I like that tribe, and ultimately you'll be able to create your own one. But to start with, you pick the tribe you like, has a particular look, and then what happens is you use a personality matrix. Those personality tests you've seen before. They test what your personality is, a bit like that. But you have these sliders where you kind of say, well, more aggressive, less aggressive, all that stuff, and you create quite a complex personality. And basically what happens is then you mint, it creates a token, you mint an avatar which is based on you. Now that avatar, what does it do, right? It heads off into the Dream Channel, creates story threads on its own without you being there, right? You can control it too, like when you're there, but you don't have to. So essentially, this is where the Dream Channel story comes in. You go to sleep at night and it heads off at night, creates, and it goes on dates, gets in fights, face jumps, steals cars, does all kinds of crazy stuff, and it sends you a highlights video in the morning of what it got up to, right? And then you can follow up those threads and follow up those connections. So this kind of idea of the metaverse is always happening, the Dream Channel is always alive, and you are always a character in it, right? So that's how the AI works, and it's intriguing because you're going to wonder, well, who did it meet? And it's kind of an interesting thing. Who did it go on a date with, and how did that work? Because it's based on you, and you can change the personality. Then it's an intriguing sort of insight into how this AI entertainment could work. So that's why we call it Dream Channel AI, because it's all about you being the kind of AI generative character in there. Now, there's other things that it does, like it learns from you. The videos it sends you based on your eye gaze and your engagement with that, it learns what not or what to give you more of. So there's all that sort of stuff going on. The AI equation is endless, but the starting point is that it's actually a personality you've created based on you, which gives you intrigue and it creates whatever. Now, there's a whole system then after that through where that character can actually become a protagonist in the story, becomes popular enough. If you invent a really crazy character that's popular, it ends up in the narrative. But there's slots in the narrative for these characters. So you're actually not just in the story, you could be a major character in the story as well. So that's how the whole AI thing works. Yeah. And that one I was
so cool.
Yeah. And the third part of the equation, which was the metaverse has no audience, right? So we're trying to solve that one. Audience, payments, and making it cheap and easy. Yeah,
that's so cool. I love the fact that, we talk about the metaverse being persistent, but I've always, through the lens of the game continues for other people and then you jump in when you need to. But the idea of it going off and having adventures and you get reports, it almost gives me like Tamagotchi vibes, like it's your pet.
Yes.
It's like part personality, part you, part pet, but you can jump in and take the reins, but then like shape that over time. That's really, really interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so you've described almost like a platform to create these really immersive storytelling experiences. Tell us about the one that you're working on now, and then let's link into that talking about the frames.
Sure, great. Yeah, so the Dream Channel story, the particular story that we're zoning in on here is a feature film. It's all about gangsters, AI gangsters actually, who buy and sell dreams on the black market. And that's what it's about. So it's a very Blade Runner-esque story, and it's actually all about, in the near future, there's a corporation called the Lucidia Corporation, which was the one that was in my very first movie, that invents a lucid dreaming elixir that basically allows people to basically, they invent it as a sleeping drug, just like normal sleep, NoDoz, they invent this. They're like a pharmaceutical company, and by chance, what happens in the story is that clubbers who go out at night and are looking to get to sleep report that they, after taking this sleeping drug, they're actually able to to lucid dream, go back to dreams and continue the story. It's a side effect from the taking of this sleeping pill, if you like, that the clubbers start to communicate to each other, and then it evolves further when they realize that they're actually appearing in each other's dreams. There's some kind of like subconscious social network that's starting to form between all these people who are taking this particular sleeping pill. Okay, so what happens is the corporation start getting excited. We've got some kind of subconscious Facebook evolving here. How do we tap into this? So they start finding out who's good at dreaming, who are the lucid dreamers that are attracting all the attention, who are the actual influencers in this new evolving subconscious world, right? And they uncover a girl called Lucy, who is an incredible dreamer, who has this dream that everybody wants to be a part of, right? So she dreams up, and they don't know quite what it is. They've heard about it, and the story is about how they actually blackmail her boyfriend to try and steal it from her and give it to them so they can control it and own it and monetize it. And the dream is actually uncovered in the story at the beginning, where they go in and they basically get invited to the Lucidity Corporation headquarters to experiment with the Dream Channel. It's like a Big Brother. There's about 20 couples that get invited, and they experiment with going in and out of the dream world, and their dreams are played back on this TV, and they basically watch each other's dreams, and the audiences watch the dreams, and they vote for their favorite dreams. So that's how they it's like a Big Brother kind of thing. But in the end, they work out there's only one dream that everyone wants, which is this girl Lucy's, and they all want to be part of it. And that's when the dangers of this whole thing start to evolve. They work out that by actually, if you can kill someone in their dreams, they don't die, but they don't wake up either. But you take their dream world. So the whole Dream Channel first phase one experiment, it turns into a battle royale, where basically people are trying to take each other out to own the dream world. So the prize, the Big Brother prize, is not fame on a TV show. It's actually you get to own the dream world that everyone was voting for. So that's the episode one. What it's all about. So and Lucy, cool. Lucy, the protagonist, her character journey is she has to go from being, a dreamer and just a very sort of a kitten, if you like, to a lioness. In the end, she must defend her dream world, become a contestant in her own death match game show, if you like, and win it to win her dream world back. That is the story. Yep.
Oh, cool. Well, you saw me on watching it. Is the sole medium for this movie going to be on this platform, or is it going to be also a kind of typical format movie and on this? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it's going to be both. So every actor wants to have a theatrically released film. That's what their whole mission in life is. So we can't deny that if there's a cinema run that's going to happen, we'll go for it. So the film itself, the feature film, the linear feature that you watch, will be broadcast on Dream Channel TV online. Okay, but it will also be entered into things like the Cannes Film Festival and things like that. And if it does well there, it will get a cinema run in places like the Dendy and things like that. It's episode one is a very, very targeted at an indie feature, R18 kind of film that is kind of edgy and cultish. That's what we're going for. Now, episode two, which anyone buying into Dream Channel through DSG would have a share in, because we'll go on and make episode two, will probably be the big commercial one, kind of like how Alien did Aliens. You know what I mean? Alien was the sort of edgy one, and then Aliens was the big sort of commercial one. Even though I think they're both commercial, but yeah, a bit like that. So it will, but the actual feature itself online is different. You watch it online, and then every scene has story threads that come off it, which you can choose your own adventure. You can go, I'm going to go that way, I'm going to go that way, I'm going to go that way. And the series, which comes from that, is also choose your own adventure, immersive as well. So if you can imagine online, a story evolving this way, and then you go, I want to go that way. You go. So there's 9 different story endings to the actual online version, and a number of those endings require you to go into VR mode to go into the story and discover what happens. So they're the 2 versions of the film. There's I think the nature of the audience we're going after here is it's a very young audience and a very engaged audience. I think that they're the ones that want to play around with immersive tools and be able to vote and interact and become part of it. So we're kind of really walking that line between game and film. Is it a game? Is it a film? It's kind of both. And depending on how you engage with it, you'll say, oh, it's a game to me. Other people will say, well, it's a film to me. I saw it at the cinema. So that's how we're going. So it's that. Hopefully that explains how we're going to distribute.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And then frames.
Sure. Okay. So the model part of, again, this master's that I did, I looked at financing models for film. Now, film is a very broken machine in terms of financing and making money out of movies. Anybody that's put money into a film will say, don't ever do it again, because they didn't make any money out of it. And if the film, or they've watched the film go off and make millions at the box office and they never got any back, right? Now, this is the whole thing about film. It's you put money in, you don't know what your share is. You don't know what the waterfall payment schedule is going to be. You don't know whether you're first, last. You don't know, and it's just it's a really bad system. The film industry will tell you it's bad. No one says that it's a good system. It's not, and they need a new solution. So what we do is we create a model which is based on the frames of the movie, right? So if you can think, a 90-minute film has 135,000 frames, right, at 25 frames a second. We use 25, not 24. It doesn't really matter as long as you have a fractionalized model. And what essentially we're doing is we're issuing a coin for every frame in the film, right? Or you can issue 10 coins, whatever it is. But the idea is there's a model. So if there's 135,000 frames and there's 1.35 million shares, for example, I own 10 shares. I know what I own of the film, right? It's a very easy calculation. Okay, so that's how we calculate and finance and have a model for financing films. But there's also, that's great for calculating a model, but the frames themselves are also valuable. So in other words, you buy a digital security token, which is equivalent to a certain number of frames or fraction of frames, but the frames themselves, you get distributed, airdropped. If you are an investor in the film, there is a frame airdrop where the actual individual frames are airdropped to your wallet. Now, those frames do not have any ownership value. They are just basically distributed to you pro rata based on your stake in the film, but they have a secondary market. And if you can imagine, if you manage to get your hands on the frame, which is the murder scene or whatever it might be, that frame has got great value in terms of a cult film, in tradable value. So NFTs became a bit of a dirty word years ago because they got overvalued and not really linked to anything specific. But movies are NFT havens. They're so collectible. Like film moments are collectible, and film moments that don't even make the final cut, they're very collectible too. So what we're going to be doing is distributing film frames to owners of the film who buy into the equity, and then creating a secondary market for that. And then some of those frames will be gifts, some of them will be scenes, some of them will be videos, some of them will just be flat pictures. There'll be a whole sort of it's a whole economy around that. Yeah,
that's awesome. And when you think about NFT projects, usually there's some kind of rarity algorithm, but what we're talking about is if it's randomized, which frame you get, it might be the title screen, it might be, like you said, the key murder scene, and so you've got like natural rarity built in just by virtue of what frame it is, which is pretty cool. And then when you think of alternative revenue streams, one of the great things that NFTs do provide artists is kind of ongoing royalties in perpetuity. So some good ways to provide ongoing revenue to the team and artists, and however that's divided up, it doesn't really matter, but I can see that for sure. And this is probably a good time to say that DSG is working with you to figure out how we can provide an equity offer in the platform and projects. And so that's through a very security token kind of financial offer method, which obviously has checks and balances, and listeners can read the future IM for all the details around that. And so what we're kind of doing is, I guess, thinking about NFT collectibles, memorabilia, almost like airdrop some of those as shareholder kind of benefits and perks, and then separate to that, and that's kind of got some ongoing like royalty tail revenue, and then more upfront you've got the tokenized security or security token actually investing in the entity that owns a platform or that owns a particular movie project. So you've got different different ways for different types of enthusiasts or investors to get involved and support a project, and that's really cool.
Yeah, well, I kind of divided into three. There's three tokens in this kind of model, right? So let's talk about that for a second. So because they are, and I think the thing is, what DSG has provided. I had this 3-token model which I've been developing for a while, but without DSG being around, there was one of the tokens couldn't be provided, right? So the 3-token model that I've always thought was the right way to fund a movie was that there is a NFT frame, okay, which is collectible, tradable, has its own value based on straight out, the merchandising potential of the film, right? So it's a new merchandising mechanic, right? This is the NFT, right? Then you also have a digital security, which gives people who can buy into the movie an actual pro rata royalty or a pro rata dividend or whatever you want to call it, right? And that needs to be there as well. And then the third part of it is that the actual channel, if you like, the online channel that people go to watch the movie can buy a token to do that. So Dream Channel has a thing called AI Dreams. AI Dreams is the token of Dream Channel, which people will buy to watch the movie, right? Or to engage or to vote or to whatever. So there's 3 tokens in this equation. And what I think up until now, it's been difficult for films to get going in the crypto space or blockchain space because you need all 3. One of those isn't enough. A digital security token gives you ownership, but a lot of people get that token and they just sit back. It's not really an engagement token. It's more like I own it and I sit back, I own shares and, hey, how's it going? You know what I mean? It's not really an audience engagement mechanic, right? So whereas AI Dreams being a utility token, which has no ownership, allows people to get 500 AI Dreams for $5 or whatever it is. And they can bet on outcomes or whatever it is, or they can vote for outcomes or trade things inside the world or whatever it is. And it's their currency, which gives the world, the channel, the movie, a currency that people are able to buy and trade like a game currency, right? And then you've got the NFT. So they're the three things. So yeah, part of my journey here has been to get to here was finding all those bits, and being able to put them all together. So DSG provides that last bit.
Awesome. And we've talked about this platform and this kind of engagement interactive platform and the utility token to access that. Obviously, we don't want to waste that just on one particular movie project. So how do you see this scaling to other projects, and have you got some other projects in line or lined up or partnerships? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so when I first started pitching Dream Channel around as a concept, I pitched it as a solution for films in general, right? And Dream Channel was just one film. It was the first one. So that stayed that way. This really is, Dream Channel is the first film to utilize this new equation of the 3 tokens and the Dream Channel TV channel and the interactivity, voting, all the rest, right, to create, audience engagement, monetization, financing, right? Now, that is a very specific model to film, which other films can use. And I've been, in my journeys, my travels, I've met a number of other feature filmmakers, one of whom a guy called Greg O'Connor, who's probably quite well known in Hollywood for making the film Warrior, which is a UFC themed film starring Tom Hardy and Joel Edgerton, which was all about like a UFC fighter, like blah blah blah. And so he made that film and a few other well-known features, but he's probably the only filmmaker in Hollywood that's succeeded at doing UFC fight films, right? So he has another film that he directed called The Smashing Machine, which is all about Mark Kerr, and he's now in that film, The Smashing Machine, the documentary. The rights to make a feature film for that was sold to The Rock Johnson to make the theatrical feature film version of that. So there's a lot of UFC type films happening here. He wants to use Dream Channel as his channel, online TV channel, to draw audiences into his offering through DSG. So he's looking to finance the monetization of The Smashing Machine and another film after that, which I can't mention just yet, in using this model. So that'll bring UFC. I think there's 380 million UFC fans globally, right? Mark Kerr is a household name, and he's about to become even bigger because The Rock Johnson's going to play him in this feature. The online
movie that's coming out
It's
in a
coming
matter
out
of
in,
months, isn't it?
I think it's in Q3 this year.
Oh yeah.
I think so, right? So that the Rock Johnson's movie will come out, and then the documentary based on that will come out 30 days later. Now, but what's interesting is that Greg wants to use this online audience generating mechanic to power this whole documentary, right? So what's going to happen there is, see, in Dream Channel, that movie there is all about about dreams and about on dream characters fighting each other in this kind of very, very underground metaverse world, right? Whereas Greg's, we're going to reskin that and then represent it and republish it as a fight world, right? And the fight world will have fight dojos, so jiu-jitsu, boxing, taekwondo, karate, wrestling, even football, like things like rugby, like tackles, boom, boom. So you'll have probably about 12 fight dojos that you join just the way I said. You generate an AI generative avatar. You join the jiu-jitsu crew, and then the jiu-jitsu guy fights the kickboxing guy, and you're fighting for coins, right? And this is all part of the Smashing Machine metaverse channel, right? So and then the Smashing Machine frames are distributed to all the owners, and you can fight for them and all the rest. So it's got this great mechanic for audience engagement, which is coming again from the avatar that you generate, but what it does is in line with the theme of the movie, right? So in my case it's these are underground dream characters that are all kind of like trying to kind of outperform each other and kill each other in a battle royale, right? Whereas his thing will be more of a kind of a Street Fighter. I don't know if you remember that. The online game. This is This is the Taekwondo guy versus the Jiu-Jitsu guy. So that's what that's going to be. So yeah, that's so there's definitely some, and we will license the Dream Channel movie template to the Smashing Machine, and then it'll be licensed on from there. And I think that the big thing about why that's so important is that Hollywood's very risk averse, and no one wants to be first. It's funny, in tech, everyone wants to be first. You come up with an idea, everyone rushes to. No, I did it. Even if it fails, I did it. No, me. Everyone's not worried about failure. They're worried about being first. Whereas in film, it's all about failure. No one wants to fail. You don't really get in tech 3 failures. You get another one because you've got experience. People give you another gig because you've learned. Yeah. In film, 1 failure, you don't get another one. Yeah, it's like nah. You're only as good as your last game in film, and that's and everyone knows that. And so people don't want to experiment with a fight metaverse that isn't going to really work. So on Dream Channel I'm the tech guy that's happy to be first. Yeah, and because not many filmmakers would go first in this. Yeah, and I am, and then Greg will happily come along second, and not be able to claim he was the guy, but that's okay. And we go from there. But that will open the why that's a great thing for who we're talking to right now, which is your investment community, is that we are creating a template which has now got the way forward. Yeah, someone like me, followed by a reputable, well-known. Greg's brother directed The Accountant. He's got a twin brother.
I love that movie.
Yeah, which is one of the most, I think, Academy Award-winning. So he's Hollywood. He's a Hollywood A-list producer, and they're doing this other film, which we'll talk about at some point, which is going to blow the lid off everything, which is the one coming after the Smashing Machine. So we shall use this equation as well. So yeah.
Well, I mean, when you think about enthusiast communities to tap into, UFC is obviously huge, and when you think about the perfect ingredients for build your own character, fighting, and even it sounds like maybe even like a little bit of a play to earn type mechanic with some tokens being up for grabs. You've got flavors of like Axie Infinity, and really, really interesting. I'm really keen to see how that plays out.
Yeah, yep. Took a long time. This is all a long time in the making. It's not like overnight. Again, tech overnight. People think that people come up with these things. They don't. I mean, these things take years, we've been doing that. That's why when I say 2010, that was a long time ago. Well, it wasn't really, because Facebook Facebook started in 2002, and I didn't join it till 2009. So you think about that, right? So
it's 2005, I think, or 2006 for me. But I mean, when you think about it, the Venn diagram of interest that you have, like coming from film, obviously thinking a lot academically and personally about the future of engagement and funding mechanisms, and then the blockchain knowledge and expertise come in. That's almost a more organic way than the trope of a tech guy looking at movies and saying, we can do something better there. Like, you're not from the inside out.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's always really organic, because there's nothing worse than someone coming in from the outside thinking they've got the magic answer, and it's like, dude, you've got no idea of all the different dynamics going on. So
that's true.
Probably need someone like you. Yeah.
Well, I'd say, and the film would be the beast that is probably the hardest to understand from the outside in, and film people know if you get it. And because they ask these certain questions, and if you don't know the answers to those, or you don't say the right thing, they go, no, it doesn't understand film.
Yeah.
It is a very, very specific thing to get to understand the problems inside it.
Yeah.
And once you understand the problem, it's like anything, like in tech. If you do understand the problems, you know what you're solving. But to understand what you're solving in film it's not just one thing; it's a bunch of things coming together. Yeah. And I think Dream Channel does solve all those things, but it has come organically through me learning what those things are. Yeah. So from trying and failing, trying to get funding and working out what the hell's going on there. I can't get funding. Blah blah blah. Yeah. So yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So just before we wrap up, how can people follow what you're doing? Give us your socials. Give us your website. Like, how can people learn more?
Sure. Twitter's a great. Twitter X is a great tool for us. It's where the blockchain community are, and that's why we've been chatting on Twitter. The film community are also there, but very much the people. It's a very innovative tech space as well. So Dream Channel. So basically, we can find us as Dream Channel _AI. I think there's some other ones out there trying to pretend to be us, but it's got about 6,000 followers at the moment. So if you find that one, that's the right one. Also on Instagram, there's Dream Channel AI on Instagram. That's where more the entertainment vibe will be. The tech speak on. So the speak on Twitter X is a bit more about the market and things like that, whereas Instagram is very much just these are the characters and blah, blah, blah. We'll be putting a lot of clips there, which you can look at and check out. You'll get a real vibe of the story and the story world from Instagram and from Twitter. But if you want to go and see a bit more about the white paper and all that sort of the vibe behind this, dreamchannel.live is the website you can go to, which kind of like gives you a bit of a insight into the world and the immersive world. It's kind of, you'll see it spinning when you get in there, and all the different tribes and the story and the depth of all that sort of stuff. So if you want to have a deeper look there. And we'll be releasing more and more clips as we go along. So that they're the two spots. But Dream Channel, the actual TV portal itself, that will take over all this, right? Yeah. And so that'll be the place where you'll join it, you generate your avatar. We've built that in various app forms at the moment, but we're going to kind of release it as a proper release when it's ready. So that'll trump everything pretty soon, and you'll have an app on your phone that you basically scan your face, create your avatar. That avatar will go and do things, fight other people. It already works in AR mode, so we're planning on engaging with you, the audience, in a way that allows you to join the film way before we release it. Now, and just one point on that. The film's shot. It's actually in edit. Yeah. The feature is done. It's not like we have to go and cast it, and it stars like a whole lot of very, very well-known Australian actors. So guys all from Underbelly and all those kind of TV shows. They're all in it. Gary Sweet, people like that. I don't know if a lot of Aussies will know who he is, but so we've already done that. So the indie, edgy, super edgy art cult feature that's shot and in the can and in edit, right? So we don't have to. There's no risk factor there. And then, but what you'll be investing in is the budget to roll that out, the supporting channel that goes with it, and to make the next one. Yeah.
And the machine that can continue to replicate these types of engagement platforms for the next movie 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and license that. So we'll make sure to keep listeners updated on security token sewage and how they can get the IM and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, no worries, for sure. Sounds great.
Awesome.
Great to be aboard. It's been a bit of a journey, but we're here.
Yeah, no,
Mark,
well done.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, thanks so much,
Right.
Jonny.
All right, see you guys. See you in the Dream Channel.